In this section here, we're going to be going over linear inequalities. Now, in the subject that I have, intermediate algebra, I work quite a few examples in these linear inequalities. You might want to check that out. It's under intermediate algebra. Okay, so we're just going to kind of touch on this. So for the most part, this should be a review for most. Let's look at this first one here. We have, where should I write it? Over here? Okay. We have 4 times x plus 2 is less than or equal to 3x minus 4. Okay, so we want to isolate this x. So think of this as a linear equation and you're solving for x. Okay, don't let this throw you off right here. So let's go ahead and distribute this across. Let's take this 3x over to the left, and in other words, we're subtracting 3x from both sides, but I'm skipping that step if you don't mind. So we have 4x minus 3x is less than or equal to, subtract 8 from both sides. Okay, we got 4x minus 3x, which is just x, is less than or equal to negative 12. Okay, let's look over here on the number line. So let's just arbitrarily pick a point. And we'll say this is where negative 12 is. Now this says all values less than or equal to negative 12. Now we're going to include negative 12 here. So I'm just going to put a solid dot because we include it. Alright, and it's everything less than going off in this direction on the number line. Okay, so this is one way to write it. However, I'm going to write it in interval notation because we're going off to negative infinity. We're using a bracket because we include negative 12. Alright, if it was like this, then we would use a parentheses. Okay, but it's not. Alright, let's take a look at another one. What do we got here? Okay, so this one here is a little different. You know what? I think we'll do this. Okay. 1 is less than 3x plus 4 is less than or equal to 10. So I'm going to write this twice, and we're going to concentrate on this one. Then we'll work on this one here. So we're just solving for x in this problem. So bring the 4 over. 1 minus 4 is less than 3x. So we have negative 3 is less than 3x. Multiply both sides by 1/3. Okay. Multiply both sides by 1/3, so you have negative 1. Alright, so we have x is greater than negative 1. Now let's look at this one here. We're going to have 3x is less than or equal to 10. Bring the 4 over, or that's the way I see it. Subtract 4 from both sides. So this becomes 6. Multiply both sides by 1/3. Okay. Multiply this side by 1/3 and that side by 1/3. Alright, 1/3 of 6 is 2. Let's look up here at the number line. We have x is greater than negative 1, so let's just put negative 1 right here, open circle, because we don't include it. And then we'll just arbitrarily pick a point over here. Right, this time we got a closed-in circle, okay, because we include it. Now this says x is less than or equal to, so that would be everything going off in this direction. And then this one says x is greater than, so that would be everything going off in this direction. But it must satisfy, it's got to lie in between. You see, I should say it down here. It's got to satisfy both, right? It's got to be greater than 1, less than 10. So in other words, it's got to be in this interval right here. Okay? You can pick a number out here if you want, like 10, plug it in. Well, 10 plus 3 is 30, plus 4 is 34. 34 is greater than 1, but 34 is not less than or equal to 10. See, so it has to be true for both of them. Okay? Another way of writing this is x is greater than negative 1. X is less than or equal to 2. Okay, that's one way of writing it. And running out of room here. I need to stay on this page. Or we could write it like this. Negative 1 to 2, and we use a bracket because we include 2. We use a parentheses because we don't include 1. Okay, let's look at another one. Whoa, what happened there? Okay, let's look at another one here. We have negative 4 is less than 2x minus 5 over 3, and that's less than 4. Between negative 4 and 4. Okay, so what we want to do is break this up. Alright, we'll look at this one, and then we'll take a look. I don't know. Okay, let's do this. Is less than 4. So let's go ahead and multiply through by 3 to both sides. Get rid of this. So that's going to be 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. Of course, 3 times this side causes that to cancel out. Take the 5 over. Negative 12 plus 5. Okay, this is going to be, what is that, 7? Negative 7. Is that right? Yeah. And if we multiply both sides by 2 or a half, alright, we should get this. Okay, let's look at this one here. Multiply both sides by 3. Take the 5 over. Makes that a plus 5. Okay, and then of course we're multiplying both sides by a half, so we're kind of skipping a step there. So this is actually going to be 17 times a half is 17 halves. Alright, so hopefully you got that. So x is less than negative 7 halves, so we just pick a point here. Label this as negative 7 halves, and we'll just arbitrarily pick a point here. And this is 17 halves. This is x is greater than. Open circle. Alright, everything going in that direction. And x is less than. So that's going to be open circle, everything going in that direction. And where they two overlap right here. Okay, so the interval is going to be open parentheses because we don't include 7 halves and then 17 halves. Right, open parenthesis. You could also write it x is greater than negative 7 halves and less than 17 over 2. Less than 17 over 2. Okay, I'm going to work one more example. Something that we haven't seen up to this point. If I had a negative 3x plus 2 is greater than 5. Okay, we want to find the solution set. So take the 2 over, or subtract 2 from both sides, I should say. Okay, so we have negative 3x is going to be greater than 3. Because this is a negative out in front of here, when I multiply through by negative 1/3 to both sides, okay, we'll put a parentheses around that. What's going to happen is it's going to cause this sign to flip. See that? We arbitrarily just put a negative 1 here, right? Open circle, because it doesn't include it. Everything to the left. Alright. And in interval notation, this would be negative infinity to negative 1. Okay, that's your interval notation. So you see, when you multiply through by a negative, it's going to cause your inequality here to flip. Okay. Like I said, you can go over to intermediate algebra. I have a lot of examples, go into a little bit more detail on this stuff. We're just kind of hopefully refreshing you up. If not, head over to intermediate algebra, and you'll see all kinds of examples being worked out. Okay. All right. See you in the next video.